You know, we talk so much about the olden times, about how schools used to be centers of learning and how entire communities would revolve around the idea of education, and it became such an important central symbol for villages and then subsequently cities and now of course nations. We often still talk a lot about centers of excellence and say, you know, we have, say, an NID or an IIM, or there's a Harvard or a Stanford, etc., or Shanti Niketan. And we talk with such reverence about of places that had this impact and influence in society. I think somewhere we lost that. We just got into running schools, and school just became places that had a kind of a more transactional relationship with its user. And I believe schools can be so much more. It's not just to be a school in the world, but can schools be schools for the world? I think that's really what happened and what started the Riverside story. I remember in 2007, I remember saying, what do you all do? Do you all go out and play? I mean, I remember telling them about playing Gilli Danda and Dabba Ice Spice, you know, and all of those games we played. And the children started telling me that no, nowadays their parents don't allow them to go down to play simply because streets are not safe anymore, and the parks are at a far distance from where they are. So that actually triggered the idea of our very first initiative with the city to say, how does a school become more than just a school, but a symbol of hope, a symbol of community, a symbol of culture, a symbol of safety? How can we start a conversation with the city? So I remember the children and us went trotting all the way with this promise and this hope in our heart, and we went to NID and IIM, which are arguably the most important institutions of design and management, and said, we've got the best institutions, we have to collaborate and do something for the city. Our children have to believe that the city cares for the child. So they became partners, and then the children walked into the cabins of the municipal commissioner and the police commissioner saying, we need to believe that the city services designed for childhood and for children. And that conversation just got momentum, and it became a wonderful story that started the initiative approach, which is how do cities care for its child? How do cities become child friendly? So that became one of the reasons to go beyond the walls. So not just serve the children who came into Riverside, but to go beyond and start having conversation with all children of the city. So it became a completely open source, free initiative where all children could congregate on the streets of the city and really believe that even if it's for 6 times in the year, the city does slow down for its child. Subsequently, Design for Change that started in 2009, again with this belief that if we were seeing the magic happening for children at Riverside, well, Riverside will always be a small school, 400 strong. Well, that's just too small, right? So how do you take an idea that was working for children at Riverside and taking it beyond? So the children, of course, co-created this idea of taking design thinking into 4 simple steps: feel, imagine, do, and share, which will help release the I Can superpower. Well, that started in 2009 again to serve the same purpose to first India. Of course, we reached 30,000 schools in India in year 1, and then subsequently to the world. So today, Design for Change is one of the largest movements of change, started again from Riverside. And then, of course, the third idea and the fourth, how do you support the right to education and say that that becomes a responsibility that we don't fight and we don't resist, but how do we welcome that into our space and believe that right to education is not just for people who pay the fees, right? I keep saying right to education is an expanded idea, that some children deserve it and some children need to preserve it. So just because you can pay the fees doesn't mean that you will remove the right of somebody else to have education. So that became another idea that Riverside started in 2010. I think what I'm coming back to is the idea of a lighthouse. And I often use a symbol or a metaphor to say that all of us have this light, this lighthouse, and it needs to be switched on. And just like how the lighthouses used to help give hope and direction to people lost at sea, I think all of us can switch on that lighthouse within us. And schools can be lighthouses for the community. So I think Riverside said, we will not be the best school in the world. We will try to be the best school for the world.